Hi all, and welcome to the Watch Lobby. A month ago, you would have seen me release an unboxing video on this stunning IWC 3239. At the time, I said I wanted to put this piece through its paces and return with my feedback. Now, a month on, I've had ample time with this IWC that I can share my honest opinion. Since its arrival, this piece has almost exclusively taken all my wrist time. Not only because I wanted to put it through its paces, but it genuinely has been the most alluring piece and it's really been singing to me. So, what makes this piece special? Well, stick around and let's find out. Let's dive straight into what I think has given this Ingenieur a second breath of life. In my opinion, it's those proportions. Measured horizontally, including the crown, it comes in right around 43mm. Diagonally, coming in at 42mm, which encompasses those striking crown guards. If we take a measurement of the outer bezel, we get 38.8mm. The lug-to-lug on this IWC is an interesting one. Using an integrated bracelet, we'll measure both the conventional lug-to-lug and we'll also measure the lug-to-lug, which includes the first articulating link of the bracelet. As a conventional lug-to-lug, I get right around 45.5mm, but measuring from the first bracelet link, as seen here, I get 54.6mm. I do want to add that there is a brilliant fall off of the bracelet, so the extra centimetre of lug-to-lug measurement is fairly seamless. One of my most favourable measurements is the thickness. This one coming in at 9.9mm. We get a significant bracelet taper from roughly 25.6mm down to 19.8mm at the clasp. Sized up for my roughly 7-inch wrist, this one comes in at 166 grams. Now, that's extremely surprising when you look at this piece at first glance. I'll go over this a little bit later on. If you're looking for a super slim piece that carries some heft, you can't go past this one. Fit and finish of this piece is absolutely stunning. There have been absolutely no corners cut in the manufacture. The majority of surfaces are brushed, but with perfect class. We see polished chamfered edges on the top of the case that then blend perfectly into the same chamfered edge of the bracelet. If you thought that was a stunning touch, the center links, again all brushed, sit slightly proud of the bracelet, with similarly chamfered and polished edges as to the outer edge of the bracelet. While we're talking about that stunning bracelet, the bracelet resize system is ingenious, with each link containing a spring-loaded pusher which can be depressed with these included brass pushers. Once depressed, you can use the second pusher to slide the pushpin out the side. I've got a detailed explanation of the bracelet resize process in my initial unboxing video of the Ingenieur, which I'll link down below. If you need some help on the bracelet resize, feel free to check that video out. Moving on to the clasp. Like everything else on this piece, a seamlessly integrated clasp doesn't change or alter the flow of the bracelet in any way, unlike conventional clasps that we're all used to. We see double push triggers securing the clasp shut. Once pressed, we expose a solid machined out clasp. The attention to detail on the IWC doesn't stop there. The trigger release system is different to those that we normally expect to see. When pushing in the two spring-loaded triggers, we see they slide into what can easily be described as a V-shaped lock, which in turn pulls the locking mechanism in. If I flip the case and push the triggers, you see the locking mechanism move in, which when locked closes crisply into the opposing end of the bracelet. Such an interesting locking design if you ask me. I can't believe I've come this far only talking about the bracelet. That's how excited I am about this piece. I guess that's my cue to move back to the head of the watch. We see a smooth brushed bezel sitting atop of the case. Moving in from the bezel, we get a sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on both sides, and you can tell. Moving down from the crystal, we get the chapter ring that matches the dial with high contrasting black printed minute markers. The dial on this variant is described as silver plated on the IWC website. The way it plays with light is absolutely amazing, going from a very faint silver to an off-white. At 12, we see the words IWC Schaffhausen, and at 6, the words Ingenieur, with the words Swiss made next to the 6 o'clock marker, all printed in high contrast black. For those looking for a minimalistic dial done well, this is the one. The one thing to note about the dial is that it isn't smooth, rather it has a very subtle eggshell texture. As for the indices, we see high polished rectangular indices filled with lume the entire way around, with a double indice at 12 and a shortened indice at 3 where we see a white date wheel. We see the same high polish, half skeletonized, half loomed sword style handset. Before we continue, I'm sure if you're watching this video, the one thing you would have heard is how dismal the lume is on this piece. And they weren't wrong. It's absolutely useless. We probably would have gotten better low light visibility with more high polished surfaces on the indice. Moving to the right side of the case, we get a screw down crown protecting the Ingenieur up to 12 bars or 120 meters of water resistance. The crown itself is protected by those angular crown guards, which really adds to the tool watch aesthetic of this piece. Generally, when looking at the opposing side to the crown, most manufacturers leave this fairly bland. We sometimes see the gaudy case engraving, but in this instance, IWC once again knock it out of the park. We see two portions of the case with a brushed finish, with a slight step down to a polished portion. It just adds that extra element of design. The case back is also kept very minimalistic, with the words International Watch Co., Ingenieur, and the serial number of the piece. It's noted from the IWC website that there is a soft iron inner case for protection against magnetic fields. I haven't been able to find any figures to what levels, however, it is something to note. I dare say the soft iron inner case adds some extra heft to this piece, as we discussed earlier. But we're talking about grams, but that makes all the difference on wrist. One of the biggest talking points of the IWC 3239 is what is arguably used for its movement. IWC call it the caliber 30110, which beats at 28,800 beats per hour, a quick set date with a 42-hour power reserve. You might be asking, what's wrong with that? Well, essentially, the caliber 30110 is a modified ETA 2892. I'm still working on getting further information on what's done during the modification process of the 2892 in order for IWC to create the caliber 30110. If you have any information on that, I'd love to hear from you down below in the comments. But if my only gripe about this stunning Ingenieur is the poor loom and its use of an ETA movement, I think they can both be very easily overlooked. I can forgive the poor loom, as I don't really need loom in scenarios that I find myself wearing this watch, even though I'm a self-proclaimed loom sucker. I generally absolutely love loom on watches. So that says a lot about what this watch has done for me. And as for the use of the ETA, well, I'm kind of planning on keeping this one in my collection for many years to come. So knowing that any well-trained watchmaker out there that is versed in their craft can service this piece with ease So the choice of movement essentially lowers the ownership cost of this piece substantially. But with all that said, if this piece is on your radar at all, I really suggest picking it up. With current market value taking a turn north, I'd say get one sooner rather than later. Personally, at the time of filming, this piece comes in very close to the Tudor Black Bay market price, and the Ingenieur is just worlds ahead. I shared my opinion on my own Black Bay in a separate video, which I'll link below. Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. So, what are you waiting for? Go find yourself an IWC Ingenieur 3239. And just like that, we've come to the end of another video. If you're liking this content, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to smash the thumbs up. As always, thank you for tuning in and stay safe.